advanced their reputation, and made the graduation into the banking business.
Good afternoon from Nikki and from me from Castle Goring on another absolutely magnificent, so beautiful summer's day. I can't tell you. I'm actually beginning to think that Goring is becoming like Jamaica, where you think, oh gosh, not another beautiful sunny day. Oh, can I please have something a little bit more inclement? Anyway, one should not be ungrateful for small or large mercies. And so I'll say no more, except we have a lot of ground to cover, and I am quite determined that I'm going to dedicate no more time after today to this rag of a book. But having said that, I do think it has been important to cover the terrain, because really this is a work of gross propaganda that, by Scabies and Durand's own admission, the contents are so damaging they can bring down the monarchy. Well, I have to ask you, what sort of human being, much less writer or professional, would actually have the temerity to write what they ought to know is a tissue of lies if they know it can have such a damaging effect? Anyway, to plunge right in, here we go. The very first one is Meghan, according to them, was suicidal. More personal was Meghan's experience with mental health struggles. There was a time, she told Oprah, when the trauma and pain of being attacked daily by the press, which incidentally she says she doesn't read and therefore doesn't know the contents of, and feeling so defenseless and undefended within the institution left her suicidal. Well, I have to tell you, Meghan Markle has not been attacked by the press the way I have been, and it certainly didn't leave me feeling suicidal. It left me wanting to tear them to bits, and the press, I mean, but it didn't leave me suicidal. So that is a totally unnatural response. Also, unlike Meghan Markle, who clearly has no idea of what suicidal is, when I was growing up, was genuinely suicidal. And I find it deeply offensive that they will purvey these patently obvious falsehoods, which were calculated to manipulate Harry into leaving England so she could achieve her dream of being a great star in Hollywood. Well, it ain't working out like that, is it, sweetie pie? I mean, just offensive. Next one, because I'm hoping to whiz through them, because we have 21 points, so I really want to just whiz through. Number 2. But the institution Meghan recounted was far from supportive. I said that I needed to go somewhere to get help, she admitted. What's wrong with a palace? What's wrong with a doctor? What's wrong with a mother who is a health advisor? What's wrong with a husband who heads up a charity for mental health? What's wrong with all of those people? What's wrong with your obstetrician, whose duty it is to actually monitor your mental health throughout your pregnancy? Where's your obstetrician? Where is your midwife in all of this? They are briefed and they can be reported to the British Medical Council for dereliction of duty if they are not accessible to monitor and assist you with your mental health. Do you see the lies that this woman has not only told, but that they are purveying? I mean, it's really offensive. I said that I've never felt this way before, and I need to go somewhere. In other words, she needed to create a drama and get attention. And I was told that I couldn't, that it wouldn't be good for the institution. Oh, Mickey, grab that pig, it's flying. Both a royal source and a source close to the couple confirmed that the Duchess was turned away by the HR department at Buckingham Palace. Of course they would have turned her away, you dolt. Of course they would have turned her away. I mean, are we the fools that you are, if you can believe pap like that? Meghan's not an employee of the royal family. What's she doing going to human resources at Buckingham Palace for? That's for the employees. The only reason why she would be going to Buckingham Palace was to put it on the record so she could then bleat about it afterwards. The manipulations are just beyond belief. And I think we need to call them out because they are an absolute outrage. Because, as you will see, the authors confirm that they are aware of the fact that these claims could bring down the monarchy. I'll get to that in a little while. The couple also shared that they had struggled financially. Well, I mean, these are all the lies that have been exposed, but they are putting them in this epilogue as if they are the truth, even though we all know that they are lies. I mean, honestly, the way, are we supposed to believe that Himmler was the chief rabbi's assistant? I mean, give me a break. I said, sorry, I've done the wrong bit. My family literally cut me off financially, according to Harry. And I'm not going to read the rest of that rubbish, because as we all know, I will actually continue. And then he continued, and if it hadn't been for the money Princess Diana had left him after her death, they wouldn't have survived. What about the 2.6 million that Prince Charles gave you, Harry? What about that? We know about it. Why doesn't Amid Scabies? Why doesn't Caroline Durand? Why don't they know about it? Why are they purveying lie after lie? Then we get more sympathy required. He also stated his father, Prince Charles, had stopped taking my calls. I should hope so, you little ingrate. I mean, lying and saying that you were cut off financially when you had been given millions? Give me a break. Then, wait for it. All of a sudden, the perpetrator is the victim. There's a lot of work there, Harry said. I really feel let down because he's been through something similar. He knows what pain feels like, and Archie's his grandson. I will always love him. Valens, Mickey, come on, get the Valens out. But there's a lot of hurt that's happened, I should say, but it's not on your end, Harry. It's on your father's end. And I will continue to make it one of my priorities to try and heal that relationship. You're not doing a very good job of it, are you? You weren't then, and you're not now. I mean, do you really want me to spill the beans on what I know about your relationship with your father and how distraught your father has been at your treachery and your lies and your destructiveness? I mean, this book is an obscenity. Next one. More lies. Ultimately, Harry and Meghan said that they made the tough decision, wait for it now, wait for the howler, to start a new life away from the spotlight because of elements of racism and affair of what happened to Princess Diana. What happened to Princess Diana? What happened to Princess Diana? She got in a car without a seatbelt and died. Very unfortunate. If you get in a car without a seatbelt and you have a crash, you might die too. Doesn't matter where you're living. Doesn't matter what road you're on. That's what will happen, possibly. What does that have to do with this rubbish about to start a new life away from the spotlight? Excuse me, have we been completely duped? Are we supposed to believe that those publicity hogs who are in the newspapers 2, 3, and 4 times a week and all over social media like a rash, as Diana used to say, are we supposed to believe this puerile, just obscene lie that they decided to start a new life away from the spotlight, bathing in it 98% of the time, away from the spotlight? Are we all imbeciles? Because of elements of racism. The woman was greeted with open arms, notwithstanding the fact no other member of the family throughout the whole of the existence of the royal family has had such a checkered past. No other member of the family has had so much that needed to be buried, and that was successfully buried. Unbelievable. Harry and Meghan, if people had been against Meghan because of her race, let me ask you, do you think the marriage would have actually proceeded? Her race is the thing that made it proceed. You know it, and I know it. Because your grandparents were blackmailed with a race card when they tried to prevent you from making the really very misguided decision to marry that woman. You're damn lucky you were given a dukedom. You should have been given the door. But you see, they obviously didn't realize what they were dealing with. Pity they didn't come to me for my advice. I'd have told them, because I have been through what they're going through. I've even written a book on it. And let me tell you something, it's a very ugly scene to have to endure. Next load of cod's wallop. We're now into the fact that the royal family are not embracing the lies. After the Oprah interview, as we all know, the palace made an announcement. So I'll pick this up from here. The whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Fine hope there. Harry, Meghan and Archie will always be much loved family members. Well, you did not, Harry and Meghan, truly expect them to not only buy the lie, but confirm it to the world at large, especially when everybody knows that if people bought the lie, it would endanger the existence of the monarchy. Scabies and Durand continue. Those 3 words, recollections may vary, did not go unnoticed to the couple. It should have been gone unnoticed by the couple. Sorry to teach you grammar, however, since you obviously didn't learn it well enough. I think I'll have to take over from my cousin Tony Winkler, who wrote one of the most successful primers of English grammar in the whole history of humanity. Did not go unnoticed to the couple, who is a close source said were, quote unquote, not surprised that full ownership was not taken. I should hope they weren't surprised that full ownership wasn't taken. Not even partial ownership was taken. You can't own something that you do not possess the right to. You don't possess the right to claim a lie as the truth, Harry and Meghan, not even if it's convenient to opportunists and grifters and grafters. Honestly. Next load of rubbish. Despite the trouble the royal family had faced in the past, particularly in the aftermath of Diana and Charles's divorce and her death, when many truly believed the monarchy might not survive, this revelation was far more damaging and could no doubt bring down the monarchy. There we have it, a complete awareness of the destructiveness of the claim. There we have it. How these people can have the temerity to show their face is beyond me. Next bit of rubbish. The fact that an investigation into bullying claims was being pursued against Meghan by the palace, but the far more damaging revelations about racism within the family, potentially by a senior member of the family, were being largely ignored, highlighted the outdated and unfair double standards within the institution. I'm going to take this one bit at a time because they are obfuscating. The claims against Meghan for bullying staff are being taken seriously because Harry, Meghan, Scabies and Durand, decent people don't bully their staff. It's against the law. You don't have the right to bully staff. When staff start to complain about the fact that they're being systematically bullied by an employer, the only responsible thing for any employer to do is investigate those claims. It's more serious to bully staff than for someone to not like someone else because of their personal attributes. It's more serious. Staff don't have a comeback. A member of a family who is being prejudiced against by another member of a family has a comeback. They are equals. Gosh, these people are so dumb. It's beyond belief. Also, what's this about the institution? Harry and Meghan claimed, with completely different stories and contradictory recountings, that there was one or maybe more events where one person, according to Harry, on one occasion before the marriage, and according to Meghan, when she was pregnant. Nikki, bring the pillow. Let mummy's back is hurting her. Bring the pillow. Oh, sorry about that. I'm being mischievous. Unbelievable. I mean, this whole thing is such a cheap shot, but wait for the even cheaper shot. Furthermore, the fact that the establishment had stripped Prince Harry of his military honours, while Prince Andrew retained his plethora of honorary titles and was still receiving funding for his lifestyle while Harry and Meghan weren't, appeared to many as blatant hypocrisy. Well, they don't seem to understand that Prince Andrew is a genuine war hero. Prince Harry is not a genuine war hero. Prince Harry is a puffed up pretender who was given very good publicity while he was playing soldiers. And when the party was over and he was transferred to do a proper job at Whitehall, he chucked the whole thing. Let's remember that. That's number one. Number two, Prince Andrew did not elect to be in the position he is in. Harry, of his own free will, elected to be in the position he is in. You cannot liken the two scenarios. A cheap shot, to put it mildly. Next bit of rubbish. Here we go, and they don't realise how damning this admission is. But with no name attached to the conversation about Archie's skin colour, the unaddressed race allegations have continued to threaten the royal family's image around the world. Yes, this again shows not consideration for the innocent members of the royal family, as scabies, Durand, Harry and Meghan have already confirmed that all members of the royal family, according to them, save one, is innocent. But they have spread suspicion amongst the whole of the family. How noble is that? How responsible is that? How decent is that? I would submit it is absolutely appalling. It is a dereliction of not only duty, but decency. If these invented claims had been true, they, first of all, should not have been addressing them publicly, because decent people don't wash their dirty linen in public, Harry and Meghan. The fact that you don't know this shows that you are indecent. The fact that what is it called again? The Meghan Mach 2. That's right, Meghan Mach 2. Because I seem to recall that amid scabies is morphing into Meghan. So, certainly, you must, if you don't share a plastic surgeon, you should certainly share the polishing machine that gives the air and the aura and the patina and the veneer of plasticity. And insincerity, by the way, and word salad rubbish, where all of a sudden lie is a 5-letter word spelled Truth. Next bit of rubbish. A source close to the Sussexes shared that while emotions are still raw and it is still difficult, it will force people to talk in order for the healing to begin. Blah, blah, blah. A pal of Meghan added, months later and little accountability has been taken. How can you move forward without that? Well, scabies, Harry, Meghan and Durand, you need to agree amongst yourselves whether your version of events that things are dire between Harry and Meghan and the rest of the royal family is the version you're going to go with, or whether your putative claims that Catherine and William are phoning them up on a daily basis, begging them to show them how to be a success. And the Queen is on speed dial. Harry, time to have another Zoom. Well, I'm afraid you guys need to understand that consistency is a very valuable commodity. Aside from anything else, it shows you're speaking the truth. And when you're not speaking the truth and you're inconsistent, it shows you are lying. Lying. Now wait for it. Prince Philip has died. Harry has beetled over for his photo op, and in the full knowledge that if he didn't show his face, he would affect his brand, but it hadn't stopped him creating the havoc that he did and ruining the last weeks of his grandfather's life. And now we have it. As the nation and family mourned, Harry planned his return to the UK to support his grieving grandmother and family. Oh, God. You know, that's like Judas Iscariot saying, instead of doing the decent thing and hanging himself, which he did, he was going to go to Mary and buy her a shawl with some of the 30 pieces of silver that he had used to betray her son. Next one. This is now a joke. Everyone was focused on supporting the Queen in the aftermath of Prince Philip's passing, and despite unresolved issues that needed to be discussed, and despite, incidentally, the leakage of negative stuff from California while Harry was here, I don't have a short memory. And despite unresolved issues that needed to be discussed, the family was going to put on a dignified front out of respect for Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh. Yes, but wait for it now, because of course Harry and Meghan, that's what you should have been doing from the word go. You should not have been betraying your family and lying about them. And even if you'd been speaking the truth, which you weren't, you shouldn't have been speaking that truth. Meghan also hoped to accompany Harry, but as she was heavily pregnant with their daughter, her doctors wouldn't give her medical clearance to fly. That's not true. Women fly all the time when they are as pregnant as Meghan was alleged to be. So that is not true. In truth, and if it's true, I think they should dismiss the doctor. In truth, several members of the royal family are understood to have been quietly pleased that Meghan stayed in California because they didn't want a circus, or, commented a senior royal source, the Duchess creating a spectacle. Absolutely true. Everybody heaved a massive sigh of relief that hustling drama queen didn't come to flaunt and flounce herself and steal all attention as she... I love Prince Philip so much, and I was his favourite granddaughter-in-law. In fact, you know, he told me privately that he's never loved anyone as much as he's loved me. He said, I remind him of his mother. You know, his mother who was the nun and who saved the lives of Jews during the Second World War, and who used to endanger her life as she took food and care packages to the starving in Athens against the advice of the Germans and then the occupying British forces. He told me he much rather, he respects me far more because my sacrifices have been greater. I just have to share that with you. I don't think I'll be able to go to that funeral. I will be so distraught. I think I lose the baby. Mix, are you okay? Mick is sitting on a pillow. I think she's okay. Next one. Oh, God. Unbelievable. We now have Harry dropping in on the Queen countless times. Notwithstanding the fact that she was in a bubble and wasn't allowed to receive visitors. He was also looking forward to spend time with his grandmother, who had been staying with Prince Philip in what was being referred to as the HMS bubble, for the small staff devoted round the monarch and her consort. Once given the all clear, Harry would be able to take walks over to his granny and lend her support. The family wanted to provide, knowing the huge void she felt after Prince Philip's death. How does that work? Harry wasn't a part of the bubble. My understanding is that Harry wasn't going to Windsor and saying, Granny, 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 look at me here, wave to me from the window. Oh, Megs sends love. Of course, it plays well for the brand, for the degree of closeness that the Queen and her errant grandson share. But it doesn't make sense. HMS Bubble didn't include Harry. Crikey, God. Ugh. Now they're plunging in the knife into the courtiers. It had been a year since Harry had seen his family, and there was a feeling that this trip might also present an opportunity to come together and talk without the filter of staff as go-betweens, a number of whom the Sussexes had come to discover were behind many of the media leaks they dealt with as working royals. Harry, Meghan, Scabies and Durand may be too dumb to figure this out. My viewers aren't. I'm not. The reason why there were leaks about you was that the family was trying to rein your hussy of a wife in before she completely destroyed the reputation of the family in terms of commerce and race. They were doing their jobs. Don't think it wasn't with the approval of everybody else. And the reason why your family dare not speak to you is that anything they say to you ends up being purloined by, what are the names of those wonderful people? Oprah, Gayle, Vanity Fair. There's a reason why they won't say anything to you except the most anodyne greetings at a distance and as quickly as possible keeping their distance, because they know that you have betrayed them, and they know that once a traitor, thereafter loyal. I think not. They're not dumb. You might be, and you might expect the unreasonable, but they're not dumb. We now come to Harry, like the rest of his family, had enormous reverence and love for his grandfather. Harry, how did you prove your love for your grandfather? You knew he was dying. You knew he would be distressed. Even if he hadn't been dying, you knew his health was delicate. You knew he would be distressed if you went down the traitor route. Didn't stop you going down it, did it? You went down it. Money, money, money. We want money. We want to increase our platform. We want to burnish our brand. We want to set ourselves up as the alternative royal family. Just the two of us. The royal family for all the world that doesn't have a royal family. And so what if Grandpa has the last days, weeks and months of his life ruined? So what? We need to make money. We need to set ourselves up. It's not enough that we are worth $45 or $50 million and that we were given everything free and therefore didn't really have to dip in to our capital. So that's love? Give me hatred, my dear. Give me hatred. At least you can see it coming. Love. If that's love, I don't know what you think hatred is, because that is complete inconsideration. That is the absolute opposite of love. We have some real pep now. Where we are today versus where we were 6 months ago versus where we were 12 months ago, there is actually progress. There are efforts on all sides. A royal family source shared. Added a friend of Harry. While there's so much work to be done, this visit has broken the ice, pushed a closed door slightly ajar. They're referring to Harry's visit for Prince Philip's funeral. No, it didn't. My understanding is it didn't. They couldn't wait for Harry to get back, and there were not all of the cozy or even distant conversations that Harry and his propagandists would like you to believe there were. There were distant, polite exchanges, and they couldn't wait to flee from Harry's presence. But now we have, wait for it, the day of the funeral was surreal for Harry. Blah, blah, blah. Because while the whole world watched, it was an additional layer of pressure he wasn't fully prepared for. He gets on Oprah. He encourages and doesn't shut up his wife when she's coming up with a whole heap of phantasmagoria. He adds phantasmagoria to the pot. Then he's surprised that there was pressure. Pressure. What about the pressure you have been exerting on your family? What about the pressure you have been exerting on your nation? What about the pressure of accusing the British people of racism when they were anything but? What about the pressure of accusing your family unfairly and untruly of racism and doing it in such a way that you can continue to keep the lie rolling up or down the hill so that you can keep on making money out of it while you have thrown all of the members of your family under the bus? Not only the putative talker, but everybody else. Let me see where we are now. We're coming to the end, fortunately. They're now really rubbing it in that Harry has been stripped of his military titles. Harry, you were stripped of them because you cannot be a patron and do things when you're living in a foreign country. You have to be on the spot. That's what you have to be on. You can't do things at a distance. As you have been told repeatedly, you can't be half in and half out. You know, you have to make up your mind. You're either a prostitute or you're a virgin, but you can't be both at the same time. Though the brothers had shared brief exchanges over the past year, this was their first face-to-face conversation in almost 15 months. Like, oh. At least 2 further conversations took place between the brothers during Harry's 8-month trip, according to sources. Very in-depth. My understanding is that William and Catherine have been very careful to be as pleasant and dignified as possible and to make absolutely sure that they didn't arm Harry with anything that he could run back to Meghan for Meghan to take to Gail and to Oprah. They had to be having conversations, and it's touched upon here. The pair, as they continued to plan a tribute to their mother in the summer. Yes, this has taken place, as we all know, and as we all witnessed. Harry was doing everything in his power to be sucking up to William and being in William's space and in William's orbit, and William was doing everything possible with dignity to keep distance between them. Don't take my word for it. Look at the footage. None of that, of course, is in this piece of rubbish. Now we come to betrayal again, and we're nearly at the end, fortunately. A Mirror report in the UK claimed that Harry had written a letter to his father before arriving, but the reality was the pair was still on light speaking terms. That means basically non-speaking terms. Gosh, these people are an exercise in proving that George Orwell was absolutely right when maybe 70, no, it's long, it's about 80 years ago, he wrote that wonderful essay on how the language would end up being abused so that a lie was presented as if it were the truth. This would be the trip that brought father and son together, but there was certainly no letter. After the service, there was a small outdoor gathering at Windsor Castle. Because of COVID, because of bubbles, 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 the bubbles that Harry wasn't able to enter into. Shh, don't tell anybody. But this contradicts their claim that Harry was always dropping in on the Queen. Oh, God. They don't even understand that. Only a fool doesn't understand that if on page 72 you said pink is green, and when on page 96 you say pink is pink, one of them is wrong. They can't both be right at the same time. Though there were many unresolved issues, Harry wanted nothing more than to make sure Prince Charles felt supported in his time of need. How noble! That's why he was busy lying about his father to Oprah. However brief their conversations were, there were steps forward in a necessary healing process for the pair, to such an extent that Charles immediately bolted and went to Wales to make sure that he was inaccessible to Harry. Charles left for Wales less than 24 hours after the funeral, choosing to collect his thoughts in the grounds of his Llandovery hideaway after seeing his father laid to rest. Yes, and that meant that all the kissy-kissy that you are trying to pretend existed between Charles and Harry didn't exist. Again, because Charles isn't dumb, and he knows that anything he says or does at this point is cannon fodder for those two opportunists and the adventurer and the adventuress to use to swell their bank account and their victim status, notwithstanding the fact that they are two of the most privileged people on earth, and they are the victims of nothing except their own folly. Now we have, wait for this one, it's really rather entertaining. It also provided another opportunity for the prince to spend precious moments with his grandmother, who continued life in a COVID-safe bubble at her Windsor Castle apartment. Bubbles, and Caroline do not include extraneous family members. But you notice how they've put it, because these are propagandists, and they are using the language not to reveal the truth, but to conceal it, and to manufacture scenarios that don't exist. So since they want the world to believe that Harry was with the Queen 27 hours a day instead of 24, and that he was there 8 days a week instead of 7, even though he wasn't even here for that length of time. But notice, moments, they can't completely lie. Well, they do often completely lie, but here they've actually indicated the truth. Moments, the precious moments were not where they say they are, and they were only moments. They were moments following the funeral. To see each other after so long apart, the longest he hadn't seen the Queen for, was very special. Shared a Harry sauce. I think we can safely conclude that's Meghan. Despite everything that has happened, he has the utmost love and respect for her. That's why he's making her life a misery. And that's why he's ruining her grieving process and her widowhood. Her life of duty and service is one of the many ways in which she has inspired him to also serve. Harry, the Queen hasn't served mammon. She hasn't served insincerity. She hasn't served treachery. She hasn't served hot toddy. She has served the nation. She has served the cause of the monarchy and the institution of the monarchy and the British people. You have abandoned the British people. You and your wife have done everything in your power, as your biographers confirm, to damage the monarchy and to possibly even bring down the monarchy with your version of the truth. Your version of the truth being racist provocation and other forms of grossly destructive behavior. And we are now on the last, thank God, their mission statement. Efforts building their Archewell Foundation also continue to be fruitful. It certainly does, but not as fruitful as you'd like everybody to believe. They're not the hundreds of millions that you claim there are, but there are a few seven figures sort of sloshing around. Nothing to really impress anybody who really has proper money. But then again, Meghan never did have proper money, did she? And you are a dolt, so you don't even know what proper money is all about. The next one is, over the years ahead, the two will join forces to focus on creating more diverse and compassionate online communities. What about starting with compassion for your family and your nation and your parents? Both of you. Promoting gender equality. My understanding is that the worst off segment of the British population at the moment is young white males. How are you going to cope with that in gender equality? Helping parents of every background have the support they need. Helping parents have the support they need. What about helping your own parents to have the support that they need? I mean, God, one bit of absolute rubbish out of their mouths after another. One diatribe, one dose of verbal diarrhea after another. The stench is indescribable. And also focusing on reliance and impact through sport and increasing visibility and inclusivity of pure parasports. Sorry, the light isn't very good. Parasports and athletes. Yeah. Very wide net you're casting. Very wide net, most of which is caught up in your money-making activities. For Meghan, it was a full circle moment. Having started her philanthropic journey at the age of 11, when she wrote to the consumer goods company to complain about sexist language used in a TV commercial for dishwashing liquids. Oh. That was a class project. Meghan only did what other members of her class were also focusing upon. I mean, Meghan has spun a class project that clearly wasn't her idea into an accomplishment. So she, the great Boadicea, started at the age of 11 to conquer the world and conquer injustice. How about conquering the injustice you've done to your father? How about conquering the injustice you've done to your father-in-law, your brother-in-law, your husband's sister-in-law? Let's start there. Then let's continue with the injustice you've done to the Queen. How you have damaged the monarchy with your lies about racism. Come on. Honestly, we're nearly finished, thank God. Friends say that Meghan, who, now 40, also announced her first children's book, The Stench, is proud, inverted commas, to see how far she has come and what she and Harry have been able to build in the brief 12 months of their new financially independent lives. Proud to build. What have you built? You've done one broken down, dreadful book that would have taken me 20 minutes to do, and I would never have been able to do it as badly as you did it. That's not exactly an accomplishment. You've betrayed your father. You betrayed your father-in-law. You betrayed your grandmother-in-law. You betrayed the British people. You cut one or two deals. But what have you really done? What have you really done? I'll tell you what you've really done. Are you proud of the trouble you have caused? Are you proud of the lies you have told? Are you proud of having had Piers Morgan and Sharon Osbourne dismissed? Not to mention the many other people whose lives you have detrimentally affected. You're proud of that? I think on this note I will say, if Harry and Meghan are proud of their behaviour in the last 12 months, they really should be committed to a lunatic asylum, because not only does it show that they're bad, but it shows that they're mad. Madness does not actually have an antidote the way madness does. Call the men in white, please, Mickey. Motti wants them to go to Montecito, knock on Harry and Meghan's door and ask them, are you truly insane? Because it certainly looks off the contents of this ghastly rubbish book that you truly are insane. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening to this. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in. I am sure that some of you will be as relieved as I am to leave this matter behind. Thank you and God bless.